Good afternoon, and welcome to the November regular meeting of the Calgary Police Commission. I call this meeting to order and ask that everyone ensure your microphones are muted until you need to speak. My name is Amtul Siddiqui, and I'm chair of the commission. I'm joined today by Commissioners Kelly Ogle, Susan Mallon, Cherie Nyson-Jordan, Sam Hope, Ayo Adidaran, Aaron Noga, Marcia Hansen, Robert Tenge, and Councillor Jennifer Wyness. Today's Calgary Police Service representatives are led by Chief Katie McClellan. On her behalf, Executive Officer Jessica, would you please introduce those you expect to speak during today's meeting?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. Joining us today from the Calgary Police Service, we of course have Chief Constable Katie McClellan, the Deputy Chief for the Bureau of Investigative Support, Asif Rashid, the Bureau of Community Policing, Deputy Chief Cliff O'Brien, the Deputy Chief for the Bureau of Service and Community Support, Corey Daly, our Chief Strategy Officer, Catherine Murphy, Acting Chief People Officer, Nadine Wagner, of course, myself as the XO, Executive Director, Michael Nunn, Director Sandra Jacoby, Business Strategist Jody Jimenez, Superintendent Jody Gash, Inspector Rob Patterson, Executive Director Courtney Keith, Inspector Del Vella, Business Strategist Wumi Adefepe. She'll be joining later virtually. Senior Financial Officer Sabina Lokank, Business Strategist Selena Clausen, Business Strategist Amanda Davis, Inspector Rob Davidson, Acting Inspector Steve Dowler joining for the in-camera portion, Business Strategist Carrie Rack, and last but certainly not least, our Executive Resource Officer is Staff Sergeant Graham Smiley.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. For those not familiar with our role, our commission is a body of 10 community members and 2 city councillors appointed by City Council and the Government of Alberta. We provide independent governance and oversight of the Calgary Police Service on behalf of all Calgarians. To protect the police neutrality of the police, Alberta's Police Act requires that the police chief report directly to us instead of elected officials. We provide direction to the police through the chief, police policies, we monitor the police complaint process, and approve how the police budget is spent. Today is one of 8 regular meetings we have each year to openly discuss police governance and oversight matters with the service's executive leadership team and to hear from the public. We also have several private monthly committee meetings where commissioners work more directly with the service on various matters that cannot be discussed publicly. Because today is our final monthly meeting of 2025, earlier in the day we held our organizational meeting at which we discussed commission appointments and reappointments. I'm thrilled and honored to announce that I've been re-elected as the commission chair. This is a privilege I take very seriously, and I'm grateful for your trust. I'd like to congratulate Vice Chair Ogle, who was reappointed into his role. Thank you for your continued service. I'm also pleased to announce that we have 2 new commissioners that have been appointed to our commission. Under the Alberta Police Act, every person appointed to the Police Commission must take an oath or affirmation before performing their duties. As this is their first public meeting after appointment, I'd like to invite Commissioner Dan McLean and Commissioner Joseph Fernandez to join our General Counsel Deborah Petriak and myself at the front of the room to pledge your oath of office.
I, Joseph Fernandez, affirm that I will faithfully and impartially and to the best of my ability discharge the duties of a member of the Calgary Police Commission and will not, except as authorized or required by law, to disclose any information received by me in my capacity as a member of the Commission.
Is this oath binding on your conscience?
It is.
Thank you very much and welcome to the Police Commission. I don't think we have Commissioner McLean online, correct? Doesn't seem like it, so we will do his oath at a later time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Earlier this month, we marked National Indigenous Veterans Day and Treaty Recognition Week, reminding us of the vital role Indigenous peoples have played in Canada's history and the importance of honoring our commitments to reconciliation. We also recognized Métis Week, during which we celebrated Métis culture and contributions. Typically, we begin each meeting with a land acknowledgement. However, today we've got something else planned. The Calgary Police Commission was recently honored with the gift of an eagle feather, a sacred symbol in many Indigenous cultures representing respect, courage, and a spiritual connection to the Creator. To help us understand its significance and what it means for our journey towards reconciliation, I'd like to invite Elder and Commissioner Marcia Hansen to share a few words.
Thanks, Chair. I take this as a very big honor to be able to present this eagle feather to the CPC. Eagle feathers are deeply respected in the First Nation culture, symbolizing strength, wisdom, and spiritual enlightenment. In the Indigenous culture across Canada, eagle feathers hold a great spiritual and symbolic value, marking important ceremonies and representing leadership, honesty, and responsibility. They remind recipients of their community role and inherited teachings. The eagle feather connects the physical and spiritual world, used in ceremonies for prayer and blessings. Receiving one is an honor and a commitment to uphold its values and teachings. Receiving an eagle feather often marks a pivotal moment in a person or organization's spiritual journey, acknowledging their contribution within the community or their display of courage and integrity. The ceremony surrounding the presentation of the feather may include traditional songs, prayers, storytelling, and the presence of elders, further emphasizing its sacredness and the responsibilities it carries. This ceremony gathering happened in March 2022 at West Winds, when the first eagle feather was gifted to CPS. I was honored to have been invited and attended that meaningful ceremony. This historic event not only honored the CPS commitment to building meaningful relationships with Indigenous communities, but also served as a powerful reminder of the ongoing journey towards reconciliation. The gift of the eagle feather was met with profound gratitude and respect, reflecting the shared value of dignity, trust, and mutual understanding that are central to these partnerships. The impact of this event was deeply with all in attendance, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. It highlighted the importance of cultural understanding and reinforced the ongoing commitment to learning from and supporting one another on the path to healing and mutual respect. We at Calgary Police Commission, upon receiving this eagle feather, are now part of that family. Executive Director Corwin Ordell is the steward of the eagle feather for the CPC. for the CPC. At this time, I would like to present this to Corwin and also give him a list of the protocols of how this eagle feather is handled. Need his permission in order to use it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. As we start our meeting, allow me to provide a brief overview of the format for those joining us for the first time. The public session of this meeting is being live streamed, and a recording will be posted online for those unable to attend. There will be several presentations from the Calgary Police Service, Commission members, and Commission staff. Commissioners will have the chance to ask questions or make comments after each one. Once we have completed the presentations, we will move to the public participation portion of the meeting. Those who have registered to speak will be called upon by name to either ask their question or present on a topic for our consideration. Please note that we do not take live questions during this meeting. Anyone interested in speaking, presenting, asking a question, or submitting written comments for our consideration must do so ahead of time. If you missed this month's deadline, we would love to hear from you at our next public meeting. You can visit our website, calgarypolicecommission.ca, for more information. Following public participation, we will close the public portion of today's meeting with the Chief and I taking questions from the media. Everyone is welcome to observe the media availability, but only media professionals will be permitted to participate. To start our meeting, I will ask the agenda to be approved. Does any member of the Commission wish to request an amendment to the agenda? Hearing no request, can I please get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Commissioner Ogle, seconded by Commissioner Sam Hope. All those in favor could please say aye. Anyone opposed? I will now call for declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest from the commissioners. Hearing no declarations, I will now ask for the approval of the consent agenda. For those viewing today's meeting, the consent agenda is a list of routine items and reports that all commissioners agree can be accepted without more discussion or a separate vote. Does any member of the commission wish to request an item on the consent agenda be brought forward for discussion? Hearing none, I declare the consent agenda approved. To open my chair's report, I would like to acknowledge some important observances that took place throughout this month and that align with the diversity and values of our commission. On November 19th, we paused for Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day meant for honoring lives lost to violence and reaffirming our commitment to equity and inclusion. On November 13th, World Kindness Day, we were reminded that compassion and respect are the heart of safe communities. On November 11th, we observed Remembrance Day by joining the service to reflect on the sacrifices of those who served, including members of law enforcement who have worn the uniform with courage and dedication. This month also marked a significant moment for our city with the swearing in of a new city council. Recognizing the importance of strong partnerships, Chief McCullen, Commission Vice Chair Ogle, and I made it a priority to connect with our new mayor and councillors, both new and returning, to reaffirm our shared commitment to collaboration and transparency. These conversations were invaluable, and I want to sincerely thank Mayor Farkas and each and every councillor for being so generous with their time and for engaging with us in an open and constructive way. We're looking forward to reinforcing the strong foundation we share for working together in service of Calgarians. And this was evident as we appeared in front of Council with our mid-year budget adjustment, keeping Council priorities in mind and asking for what we absolutely need in 2026 to ensure the service can continue doing the great work they do. Speaking of the service's great work, I want to highlight this month that both Chief McCullen and Inspector Alvaro Martin were nominated for the Women Transforming a Nation's Leaders Award, an initiative that celebrates women excelling in leadership roles, particularly in male-dominated fields. These nominations speak volumes about the caliber of leadership within the Calgary Police Service and the progress that we are making towards equity and inclusion. Congratulations, Chief and Inspector Martin, and thank you to all the members of the Calgary Police Service for the incredible work you do every day. With that, I will close my chair's report. Can I please get a motion to accept this report for information? Commissioner Hanson and Commissioner Nyson Jordan. All those in favor, please say aye. Fantastic. I will now pass it over to Chief Katie McCullen to say a few opening words.
Thanks very much. Congratulations, Chair and Vice Chair, and welcome, Commissioner Fernandez. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start with acknowledging the tremendous work being done across our service and by our partners. It has been another busy month with some incredible successes, some of which you will hear tonight. Calgary continues to grow and change, and with that comes new challenges for public safety. Our commitment remains clear: to keep the city safe through collaboration, innovation, and accountability. Today, I will touch on 3 areas that reflect both the progress we have made and the work ahead. As you heard the Chair say, we appeared before City Council today to address our mid-cycle budget request. We want to thank City Council for recognizing the importance of public safety in these deliberations. The adjustments include investments that will strengthen our ability to deliver on priorities, while understanding the need for critical infrastructure for our service. These resources will help us maintain service levels and respond to the growing demands of our rapidly expanding city. It was a good conversation where we were able to discuss many of the issues we are dealing with as an organization, as well as a chance to lay the foundation for what we will come with for the 4-year budget for 2027 to 2030. Much work has already been done in this area, and I really want to take the time to thank members of my team who are here today, some who are not, and members of the Commission who also supported us in our presentation and answering the questions this morning. We know that continued partnerships between police and social service agencies are critical for addressing the root causes of many issues that lead to law enforcement involvement. While police officers often respond to immediate crises, many underlying challenges such as mental health concerns, substance abuse, homelessness, and family instability require long-term specialized support beyond traditional policing. By working collaboratively with social services, law enforcement can help connect individuals and families to resources that promote stability and reduce repeat interactions within the criminal justice system. These partnerships not only improve outcomes for vulnerable populations, but also enhance community trust, reduce strain on police resources, and foster a more holistic approach to public safety. Sustained collaboration ensures that interventions are proactive rather than reactive, creating pathways to prevention and long-term solutions. This Arrest to Connect philosophy was at the heart of a recent operation launched in our core to address some of the safety perception issues being felt by Calgarians. Earlier this month, we launched Safer Calgary Operation Order. This initiative was in response to escalating violence and social disorder in the city centre. Despite previous efforts, both the perception and reality of crime downtown have not improved. Operation Order was a concentrated multi-agency effort involving our members, community safety, transit peace officers, and social services partners. Our approach was twofold: focused enforcement and compassionate outreach. Over the course of the operation, we made over 1,200 arrests, executed 180 warrants, and issued dozens of summonses. But equally important, we connected vulnerable individuals to housing, addiction services, and medical care. This was not just about enforcement. It was about restoring a sense of safety for Calgarians who live, work, and travel downtown. And while this was a one-day blitz, it signals our commitment to sustained data-driven strategies to address disorder and crime. From a personal note, and from others from the ELT who walked alongside others that day, we saw on more than one occasion members of our vulnerable community who came and spoke with us about how they too felt safer with the heightened police presence. They also shared their experiences with connecting with social services and the gaps in the system that prevent them from securing meaningful help. We know Operation Order had a wide impact. In the days following, a subsequent undercover drug operation and the downtown core was stifled as officers struggled to make buys as the dealers known to frequent the core were nowhere to be found, and they were not displaced to other parts of the city. I can say that our phones and our others who are not here today have not stopped, with citizens calling us, business partners, social services partners, thanking us for our focus on downtown safety and for operation order. We know we're always not going to make everyone happy, and there will still be people who disagree with what we did. People want a downtown core where they feel safe, while also ensuring our city's most vulnerable get the help they need. Another area we are focusing our efforts include traffic and road safety in partnership with the City of Calgary. As I have previously mentioned, we have now surpassed a 10-year high in traffic fatalities. Sadly, now 34 people have lost their lives, including 13 pedestrians. These numbers represent families forever changed. Speed, impairment, and distraction remain leading factors. Our traffic section continues to work closely with city partners on enforcement and education, but these figures underscore the urgent need for collective action. Every Calgarian has a role to play in reversing this trend and are responsible for their own actions and behaviors. In closing, the issues I have mentioned here, including urban safety, road safety, and sustainable resourcing, are all interconnected. They speak to our shared responsibility to keep this city safe. We will continue to act decisively, collaborate broadly, and remain accountable to the public we serve. Thank you, Chair. And if I may, we can move on to our first presentation. Deputy Chief O'Brien, did you want to make the introduction? Oh, sorry, we're going to do the annual policing plan first. My apologies. Chief Strategy Officer, Catherine Murphy.
Although if Cliff, you want to introduce me, that's fine too. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to wait for the deck there. Okay, I'm pleased to present the 2026 Calgary Police Service Annual Policing Plan. We've talked about this before at a couple of commission meetings preceding this, and this is the final version in front of you for approval for next year. The 2026 plan is the last of a 4-year budget cycle. So this is the last year in the 2023 to 2026 service plan and strategic framework for the service. It builds on a lot of hard work over the last 3 years, which we will continue into next year to accomplish our strategic plan. It also, though, intentionally is designed to prepare the Calgary Police Service for a phase of significant growth and transformation in 2027 to 2030, with a clear focus on what we need to do to meet the evolving needs of a very rapidly growing city. In 2026, we continue our focus on 4 focus areas: our people, our diversity, our community, and our performance as an organization. Under the focus area of our people, a couple of things I want to highlight that will be focused on next year. The first is strategic workforce alignment. We are very focused in ensuring we have the most effective and efficient model and supports for the people that we do have at Calgary Police Service. This includes ensuring our workplace is healthy, safe, and respectful. We're also spending a considerable amount of time bolstering our recruitment and training programs as we prepare to ready to bring in hundreds of new police officers in the next budget cycle. Under our diversity, next year we're going to be launching our culture, inclusion, and community framework strategy. We will continue to advance our Indigenous roadmap and our 4-year anti-racism strategic roadmap. And then we'll also begin to hopefully implement recommendations that we may see out of the Calgary Police Commission's Workplace Culture Review, which we anticipate will be completed next year. Under our community, obviously, a heavy focus on strengthening traffic safety and on enhancing our responses to social disorder. We will also be preparing for and facilitating Police Act reform as the new Police Review Commission, which will investigate all police complaints in the province, takes effect coming up this December. We will also be focusing on service delivery modernization. So that includes optimizing our deployment model, as well as looking at virtual policing and enhanced online reporting. And finally, under our performance, we will be modernizing our service delivery through leveraging technology and innovation. We will be continuously improving our communication with Calgarians on a number of topics, including, as I mentioned, traffic safety. And we are focused on working effectively with all orders of government and the justice system to advance and advocate for policies and laws that are in the best interests of law enforcement in the City of Calgary. So 2026, as I mentioned, really sets the foundation for the 2027 to 30 strategic framework, which we are already well underway in terms of developing. Our vision for the next budget cycle is Together for a Safer Calgary. It is a police-forward, police-focused strategic plan, and it has 3 pillars. The first one, of course, is advancing policing. Priorities within that pillar include improving our capacity to investigate and disrupt crime, including increasingly technical crimes like cybercrime, modernizing our workforce capabilities, and delivering modern policing tools and supports. Secondly, we're proud to serve, and we're going to support our people in proudly serving the community. This involves rebuilding our frontline capacity, supporting member wellness and a positive workplace culture, and promoting strong governance, accountability, and stewardship over our resources. And last but not least, we will be doubling down on building and sustaining our relationships in community through partnerships, through community-based initiatives, and through collaborative law enforcement strategies. So as we move forward in both implementing the 2026 plan and setting the foundation for beyond, we appreciate Calgarian support for public safety, and we take it very seriously. We also know that we have to present a value-based, responsible budget and plan that gives Calgarians value for their tax dollars, and that's what we are focused on. So over the next 6 months, we will be formulating the plan so that we can achieve our renewed vision of Together for a Safer Calgary. Thanks, Chair. With that, I'll take questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation and the ongoing work that you are doing. Commissioners, questions, please. No questions? I'll just make a comment that I'm very happy to see the way that things are lining up for the future. I think the chief and I heard a lot of comments today around partnerships and return on investment. So it's great to see that you're focusing on that for the next 4-year budget. So thank you for that. Great, thanks. Can I get someone to move and second to approve the 2026 policing plan? Thank you, Commissioner Iditarod, Commissioner Tenge. All those in favor, please raise your hand. We'll now receive a presentation on the service's 2026 traffic safety plan, please.
Thanks, Chair. And I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief O'Brien to introduce his folks joining us today.
Thank you. In the back is Superintendent Jody Gash from our Operational Support Division, and the presentation will be from Inspector Rob Patterson of our traffic section. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Inspector Rob Patterson, the commander of the Calgary Police Service Traffic Section, and I'm happy today to present to you the 2026 Traffic Safety Plan. This plan builds on our larger Safer Mobility Plan, which is a multi-year plan with a focus on what we'll be looking at into 2026. This pulls out and builds upon the action items that we have in the larger plan with measurable KPIs that we can action throughout the year for traffic safety. I just want to stress that it's not exhaustive. The stuff that you see, each of the actions and items, plans, and move forwards that we have here, they're not exhaustive. We have other things that we're working on, but this is what some of the primary focuses for our year are on. We have 6 E's, we like to say, in traffic safety, and that's kind of something that's accepted with that plan that we work with the Safer Mobility Plan, which has been jointly formulated with the City of Calgary. First one being engagement. The major action items out of these ones were strengthen community connections and promote safer mobility initiatives. So this year, folks will be on traffic and district safety action plans. So this is something new. Before, district and traffic worked somewhat independently, somewhat collaboratively from time to time, but we're going to formulate a much stronger plan. So this year, each of the districts have created a traffic safety plan with the mentorship and oversight of the traffic section. So they've identified some of the areas that they're going to work on, committed to resources in assisting traffic with their greater mission, and will mentor them through those opportunities. One of the other major things that they'll be doing this year is taking on greater ownership of the elementary schools within those areas and focusing on traffic safety around those places, largely because that is our most significant vulnerable road users are our youth. So I'll talk about that a little bit more and touches on a couple of the other points. So this will involve everything from mentorship with traffic, working on those areas, working within the schools, and working on joint forces operations between traffic and the districts in their areas for traffic problems and concerns and priorities that they've identified within their districts. I also use the same term over and over again here that we're going to be talking and focusing on data-driven directed deployment. So the idea that we're not just going somewhere because one person had said that this is a problem. We're going there because there is a proven problem that we've measured, whether that be from anecdotal evidence of people complaining, bringing forward issues and complaints, or whether we look at the data that we have from speeding, collisions, etc. We're also going to engage schools and communities through safety programs, largely through the Active and Safe Route School program, which we've been involved with for several years. This involves the schools, the school boards, the city, and is largely led from our side by our residential traffic safety unit. This focuses on the areas around the schools, around traffic problems around the schools, around traffic calming, engineering, and focusing on problem areas identified by all of those different partners to make sure that those vulnerable road users get to and from school safely. The next area with our action items is equity. So we want to broaden our community reach with translated traffic safety messaging. So we're going to focus this year on translation of our traffic safety education material. So this ranges from everything from the presentations that our traffic safety section does, so specifically the residential traffic safety unit, as well as a lot of the, we use a lot of education opportunity now through traditional and social media. It's a fantastic way to reach large groups of people immediately, and we can do that based on trends that emerge as they happen. So we don't have to have a whole lot of preparation for a formal program, but we can use traditional social media to be able to put that out. So we're going to be focusing on making sure that those are translated so that we have a greater reach to all of our diverse communities as opposed to just the traditional ones. Engineering. So although the Calgary Police Service doesn't have a section that is specifically addresses engineering, we don't have members that are out there changing the road paths and things like that. We have a strong working relationship and value relationship with the City of Calgary Roads and Mobility. Our residential traffic safety unit and our collision response unit both have regular meetings with these partners within the city that have the ability to affect engineering. The Calgary Police Service puts forward a valuable opinion towards these engineering projects, confirming that we've tried other methods that are perhaps less expensive, like putting an officer there to do some enforcement, education, and messaging, and then looking forward to what sort of engineering might be able to fix there. Those are then actioned by our partners over at the city. We're also involved right from the very end there to when we deal with the engagement in community engineering. In the past, think of some of the areas that we've had with some changes downtown with bike lanes up in Silver Springs. Each time they've looked at us for the opinion of the Calgary Police Service as to the validity of it, what we think would work. And then afterwards, when they're doing the evaluations, seek out our input to have we seen lowered summons expectation or data in that area? Have we seen less traffic service requests in that area as a real result? Sorry, I was skipping ahead there, guys. In the area of education, our actions this year will be youth traffic education and the Drive to Zero campaign. So right now, there is a significant gap in the ability or not our ability, but youth traffic education out there. There really isn't anyone doing that with any great focus anymore. But we realize the Calgary Police Service is in the opinion that we can put a police officer into every classroom every year to touch base with these individuals. So what we're looking at is a couple of different options. We're going to seek out partnership with a valued traffic safety partner in the community, along with our school boards in the city of Calgary, and look at creating an online traffic safety platform that can be delivered in the schools by teachers or in community groups by the leaders and the parents, et cetera, in those communities. The other piece we have there is what I talked on a little earlier was we will have ownership of the schools in the area to identify problems. Now, although that's not a formal education opportunity, we know that there will be natural communications between those officers who are in those schools areas with parents and with students in those areas to pass on education and information around those initiatives. And we're going to leverage partnerships to maximize community education opportunities. So one of the big themes this year, which has always been something we've done, but we're going to put a greater focus on, is working with partners extensively to get our job done. So within the city, looking at EMCS and looking at their new traffic safety team, looking at the Alberta Sheriffs, looking at the RCMP, looking at all those different community agencies that are our enforcement partners so that we can focus. One you'll see right away here is that throughout the month of November, we're going to have an increased presence for impaired driving throughout the month, involving our community partners and an extended involvement of our district personnel being mentored under our traffic members to do enforcement in impaired driving throughout the city. So okay. So next, some of the focuses we're making in the enforcement area. We mentioned this before, the district and community safety partner, JFOs and commercial vehicle checks. So not only be working with our districts to mentor and improve their skills and abilities within enforcement, as well as helping direct how those go. We'll be looking at high collision areas and high speed areas such as Deerfoot and our Ring Road. As well as our monthly traffic focuses, which are a province-wide initiative to look at a certain focus throughout the year, each month, and as well as from emerging trends. We'll be doing regular JFOs, for example, things like looking at the monthly focus, which might be anything from speed to child seats to seat belts to distracted driving, and really focusing in our members' efforts on enforcing those within the city of Calgary. Of course, along with those will come the education piece through social media and traditional media as well. We also have commercial vehicle checks, which we do every week throughout the year, focusing on our commercial vehicles, which are the large trucks and vehicles, and doing enforcement efforts with them, which we also do regularly with our sheriff partners. Focusing on high risk speed locations and distracted driving. I kind of covered that in the previous piece, but using that data-driven deployment to determine those locations and focusing in on those locations. We'll also be using some data, like I said, from the more anecdotal piece. As you're probably all aware, we have traffic service requests that come in from the city that we action regularly. Each one gets looked at and triaged, and we'll be actioning those items. So each individual community that has a problem or a focus that they see as a need will have the opportunity to have us evaluate those and look at them. our EMCS traffic team safety support or traffic safety team support. The Calgary Police Service was engaged right from the very beginning when EMCS was looking at creating a traffic safety team. And we helped build that program out. We did the training for them in speed detection and traffic direction, et cetera, so that they had the tools and skills that they needed to perform those efforts. And we're continuing to work with them. So we do regular joint forces operations with them. We intend to continue to do those throughout the year, bringing them in whenever their services will assist our traffic focuses, and often handing some of those traffic focuses off to them. For those that may not be fully aware of their mandate, it's low speed roadways in a lot of our communities as opposed to high speed roadways. So when appropriate, we'll be calling on those partnerships to help us do the enforcement. And the last is automated enforcement, or AT, automated enforcement, management and advocacy. So that includes our red light cameras, our speed on green cameras, and our photo radar. So we're going to continue to advocate for, most of you are probably aware that we were no longer allowed to put speed on green at the end of last year. Just the red light cameras. We've advocated for and successfully reinstalled speed on green on 5 locations within the city of Calgary. We're working on 7 more. Based on collision data and speed data at certain locations. So we'll continue to advocate with the province to use this important tool to enforce speed, to change behaviors, because we know that it does change behaviors at those locations. Evaluation. So we continue to work with our municipal and provincial committees, everything from AECP to working with our city boards and committees, school boards and community committees to hear what they need to address the concerns from those communities and advocate at different levels. So we can at the municipal level, the provincial level, and even the national level to advocate for the resources, the laws, and the tools that we need to keep Calgarians safe. And we have our monthly traffic briefings that we put out. So those will be put out to created monthly and shared with the Calgary Police Service, the Calgary Police Service Executive, as well as the Calgary Police Commission and the public to keep track of, so we can report back on the successes of each of these initiatives, where we are on them, and if there are new and emerging, because I think it's important that even though this is our plan, if new and emerging trends come up that are pressing, we'll be addressing those as they come along. And then we've got a couple of extra areas in here that weren't necessarily previously laid out in the Safer Mobility Plan. And those are our fatality investigations and our officer safety and wellness. So I'll focus on fatality investigations specifically. Obviously, those are the things that probably draw the most visceral response from Calgarians. You know, how many members that, of our the city that we've had killed in fatality collisions. So the teams that do those investigations are our traffic response unit teams, along with and assisted by our reconstruction team. So we're going to continue with ongoing training on those teams to make sure that they have the best tools and training to be able to do their jobs. We're going to look at and review our SOPs to make sure that that nothing is missed. We're certainly working on improved staffing and resourcing for those teams, and continued collaboration with our Crown prosecutors to make sure that the work that we're doing is going to lead to successful prosecutions in those cases. The last piece is officer safety and wellness. So doing the job of a traffic officer is challenging, right? These are our members that go to fatality collisions and literally have to deal with the aftermath of those. So it's very draining. And you look at a year like this year where we've had a significant number, a record high number of these, and our members then have to deal with those. They have to go off and do the notifications to the family. They have to work through these files and deal with the material from that all the way on, and then try to push it right through to make sure that Calgarians and their families are and the offenders that are committing these offenses are held to account. So we want to make sure that two separate things. It's dangerous just being on the side of the road, and our traffic officers are out there on the side of these high-speed roadways. I know it seems like they're super fast when somebody flies by you in a car as you're driving along them. I can assure you it's almost terrifying when you're standing on the side of the road and somebody flies by you while you're standing on the side of that road at 160, 170 kilometers an hour. So we're going to work on additional training and risk mitigation for those officers while they're out there, making sure they have the best training and tools on the side of the road while they're doing those. And the second one is working in increasing the psychological safety and wellness programs available for those members. I rest assured they have a lot right now, but I don't think we can ever really say they have enough to make sure that that's taken care of. So we'll be looking at everything from perhaps mandatory check-ins and with our fantastic wellness section, as well as we're encouraging and permitting members to have wellness days where they can focus on rebuilding their capacity to deal with these sort of incidents on a regular basis. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Inspector Patterson. Appreciate the presentation. Questions? Commissioner Hope and then Commissioner Tenge.
Thank you, Inspector Patterson, and I appreciate the plan going ahead. I only have one question. It's probably more directed to Chief McLennan, only because what is the sort of services in the city's response to the growing calls from certainly the province to increase speeds along the major provincial roadways, given the work that you're planning to do to decrease certainly speed and behavior. So what's the sort of official CPS position on the matter of that nature?
Thanks for your question. So we've had a couple of conversations about this. And so from the information that we have, those speeds will probably increase outside the city limits, so not inside the city limits. So of course, those roads outside are more functional for those higher speeds. And we may not like it, particularly when we say that one of our main issues is speed. But inside the city limits, that speed is not increasing. So that's a decision made outside of us.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. I remember for many years, check stops were a pretty normal thing and we saw them everywhere. I don't seem to see them as much anymore. I don't know if that's a policy shift over the last decade or so. Is there a plan to increase the amount of check stops during your December run of looking at impaired driving? And more so, is there a plan to continue that throughout the year?
Yes, I can certainly know, though, based on the staffing that we have in Calgary Police Service Traffic Section, it used to be higher. So we did have a greater capacity to have that out all the time. That said, absolutely. So throughout the month of December is going to be the relaunch of that sort of stuff as the holiday season, but you will see a increased presence of check stops. So we love Check Stop as a fantastic tool for awareness and education around impaired driving. But of course, also an effective tool is having members roving, looking for impaired drivers all over the city. So I'm certainly confident that you're going to see an increased presence of check stops in the city of Calgary for the coming years. Commissioner,
I'll just add to that of course, like I spoke about this morning, and as most of you know here, that one of our traffic teams, we're authorized for 4 traffic teams, Cliff, and we've got 3 fully staffed. And so, of course, that impacts our ability to do those additional check stops. But also when some of us were on the street a few years ago, more than a few years ago, we would have to do regular duties to assist the impaired van in the traffic section. Now, because of course we're working at 60% capacity, we're not able to do that. And so again, with growth in the future, we hope to be able to do that and get back to that deployment model.
Sorry, if you don't mind me just adding. So we'll also be pushing quite a bit on social media and traditional media in relation to these as well. So it's not just the physical vehicles being out and about. It's also creating that awareness and obviously that deterrent effect of talking about it very publicly as well.
Commissioner Ogle.
Can we talk about ATE again? Why are you laughing at me like it? Seems to me that because of the supposed libertarian parts of the provincial jurisdiction. I'll just leave it at that. We must have a lot of ATE equipment that's standing by. Would that be fair?
A good number of that automated enforcement is still there. So the ones that are the photo radar vehicles are still able to be deployed pretty readily into school zones and construction zones. So they are still being used to their full extent, sir.
That's my point. Is every day, are we employing those vehicles that have ATE in them every day, like 100% of the time? Because it's an opportunity, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but construction zones as well?
Yes, sir.
So please tell me that they're out there every day and they're getting serviced more regularly than other cars or whatever is necessary so that they're being used every day.
They are. They are deploying every day. So we see our entire fleet based on our staffing as out as often as it can be. Like there is pretty much none of those vehicles left at the end of the day. They're all sitting out on multiple shifts as well. They don't just go out one shift a day. They go out multiple shifts a day, as well as we still do have the red light cameras available, which are the intersection safety devices, which are still functioning at a number of locations around Calgary.
So I would suggest to ELT that as we're building out this 4-year budget, that we're going to buy a whole bunch more of those units and continue to force the issue with the province on this particular.
If I could, Chair, because of some of the inquiries that came from this commission, we did go back and we looked at the intersection devices that, although we're not allowed to use them to give summonses, we did notice that the average speed through those intersections was 20 kilometers over the speed limit. So, and of course, the whole purpose of us putting them in initially in those intersections was because that's where collisions happen. They were in, there's no collisions. But now we're starting to see that speed creep up over 20 kilometers over the speed limit. Anyway, somebody else can do the math.
Commissioner Nissen-Jordan.
I'm going to double down on this because I think that, again, it's a comment, it's not a question. I'm hearing that we're down at 60%, so our patrol guys can't help. They're busy doing other things. Our traffic section is not fully staffed, and we turn around and we take a well-known entity like automated traffic enforcement, which is available throughout the world, and our government turns around and pulls it back because of God knows what. So I think it has to come up every time in the public session that this is a consideration and a concern from the commission perspective. We're putting our staff at risk doing this traffic enforcement when it doesn't need to happen as frequently as it does. So I just want to make sure that every time this comes up and that there needs to be a lot more work done to move those. If we have to have stats for all of those things, the increase in 20 kilometers an hour in sections should go back to the government to say, it's already showing. And when we have 34 people die on our streets, it absolutely doesn't make any sense to me. My question, now that I've had my rant, and it's usually Commissioner Ogle that does that for me, but so what do you do? We talk about many of our teams with frequent offenders, for high frequency people. What do we do about the high frequency offenders in the traffic area? What extra things go on in that area?
So largely right now, it's kind of hard to target high frequency speeders because it would mean literally the resources of following them around, etc. So we do target high frequency, perhaps if people are driving without insurance, because we know that there are high frequency people that they are put on a list for us, or people that are suspended. When it comes to speeders, it's fairly hard to then follow that person around and target that person for speed. What we do, however, is we work aggressively with our Crown prosecutors to ensure that if that is a multiple offender, that is made sure to be brought up in court and that we're looking at the penalties involved with those as well.
Thank you. I do think we need to work hard on that. And one of the things, having been on one of those check stops the other day with the traffic division, to pick up the DUI individuals who have frequently lost their license and they're still out there getting another vehicle and getting out into turning around and killing people. It just doesn't make any sense to me either.
No, ma'am. And one, I can always highlight our move to the new administrative penalty system under impaired driving allows our officers to do a lot more good work out there. You used to be, in my day, you first arrested somebody, you might be 2 to 4 to 6 hours to process an impaired driver. My traffic guys can have somebody off and on their way in less than 30 minutes and be waiting for the tow truck is the last thing to get on to be able to get the next impaired driver. So, something certainly positive that we can highlight from the province was that move. And I can admit that initially I was not particularly fond of it because it was the old fashioned criminal code way of dealing with it. But of course, we're able to make a much bigger impact in our community now based on that.
Thank you. So I've got Commissioner Noga, Adidaron, and Fernandez. So go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just one question. This is a very well laid out report. Maybe it's by section you have KPIs. So what can we expect in terms of report back on these KPIs? Because I think that is, for me, is more interesting because this is how you're going to measure the success of your plan.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So I did mention that we will be providing a monthly report to CPC, laying out those KPIs and putting in the measure. Some of them will be done monthly, some of them will be done bi-yearly, and some of them will be done yearly based on the type of the KPI that's been identified. So first thing in January, you'll receive your first report and start to get those results on those KPIs, sir.
Thank you. I think I'll go back on the KPI question on your engagement in community engineering. So you do have a couple of KPI, and I think the second one says the input volume provided during the engagement. It would be nice if we see the outcome of those input as well. So it's not you giving them the input, but what are they doing about those input as well? So if they are not doing anything, then we need to understand what is the problem. Why are they not implement those suggestions or recommendations?
So correct, sir. Just to reiterate your comments so I got clear. So you're looking for making sure that we end up with some of the results of those as well, as opposed to just the numbers of inputs, is the results of those inputs?
That's correct.
Fantastic. Yep, that's something we can do.
I'm looking at things from a technology perspective. Right now, a lot of people basically kind of use dash cam in places. Is there a way for citizens to be able to actually download their dash cam and say, hey, I'm actually kind of prepared to show up in court, to actually kind of say that this is actually legitimate, to basically kind of assist with the enforcement process?
Yep, absolutely. So, technology is a definite asset within the traffic section. So, with respect to your specific question, and I'll add another piece on there as well. But yes, that is something that's being looked at with our service modernization project. We're actually looking at creating some sort of method, whether it be a direct online portal or somewhere where you can email to be able to allow that information. I know we had a question that came in through the commission from the community that the UK has a very well developed program like that. So we are examining that as an option, that we would have officers then that could monitor that account, review the evidence that's put in, determine if there can be a charge laid, and then lay a charge with that. And we're hoping to work with the province that under our current e-ticketing model, we can't issue a ticket outside, but we're going to work with them to, like, outside of a certain off the side of the road. We can't do it after the fact. We'd have to then hunt them down, so to speak. So we're going to work with the province to see, because that's something that they've been saying is coming on the way. So we're going to work with them to try to get it so that we can deal with those tickets, either mail them out or issue them after the fact. And another piece that around that was with our traffic officers, we're trialing for the service a point of view cameras. So one thing that was very difficult before to get a conviction on was distracted driving. We know that is a huge issue, a huge issue. And the problem is for a long time, we could not get convictions because somebody would say, well, no, that wasn't my phone in my hand. That was X, Y, Z. And without a video of that, to be able to, they always put the balance on the accused, and it was hard to prove that. So with the new point of view cameras we actually get mounted on their officer's ball cap or their motorcycle helmets. So when what we see, we can then show the courts. So it's very clear that they were holding those devices. So we're going to be doing a much greater focus on distracted driving now that we have the tools able to bring that evidence to court to make sure that we can hold those distracted drivers accountable as well.
Chair, Commissioner Ogle may be rubbing off on me, but you know what was really good technology? Was the intersection devices that we had. So
Thank you for that point, Deputy Chief. Thank you for the presentation. I just have a couple of questions of my own. Do you, and Commissioner Nice and Jordan commented on this, do you have enough people to do what you need to do right now for this traffic safety plan?
We could use more people. Right now, none of my teams, well, shouldn't say none, that we have certain specialty teams within traffic that are full, but my traffic response teams are not full. They're sitting at about 60%. So having a full 40 officers being able to deploy onto the street where we're sitting now more like about 29 officers would be more effective. And I know looking at the growth in the future years, we're looking at trying to grow traffic back up to a larger size so that we have a better deployment thing.
And the other question I have is around patterns of offenders. So, you know, this has been very timely conversation with counselors and including today at the mid-year budget presentation. Do you see, like, I know there's things around distracted driving and all that, but the people that you're pulling over, are you finding that they're youth? Are they newcomers to Canada? Are you seeing that they're just new to the city? Like, is there any data being collected so that then your marketing efforts are a little bit more directed at where they need to be directed?
Yeah, that's something we certainly look at. And certainly having just recently talked to our analysts, we're finding it very difficult to find patterns. So you look this summer and we had a number of motorcycle crashes, some of which were the motorcyclists' faults. And when we look at those, they range from everything from 19-year-olds to people well into their age. They should know better to be driving that fast on a motorcycle. We pull over speeders on the ring road doing everything from 19 to 79. It really, no clear patterns are emerging, which is troubling because it then becomes very difficult. It would be very easy to say this is people who've become far too comfortable driving, or this is people who don't know how to drive very well. I'd be, youth that don't have great patterns, or maybe it's a misunderstanding about rules and regulations because it's a newcomer. We see kind of a little bit across the entire board. So the challenge is it's hard to focus that. The positive piece is that really the entire community is our messaging. So,
any other questions? So thank you very much. As I said, it's very timely. We know that it has been a horrific year for accidents. And so if you could please pass on our appreciation to your teams. They do see some of the worst situations out there. So thank you from all of us. And we look forward to updates throughout the following year. We'll now hear updates on local crime trends from the Bureaus of Investigative Support and Community Policing. Commissioners will get a chance to ask questions about both reports after the verbal presentations.
Thanks, Chair. And with that, I'll first introduce Deputy Chief Asif Rashid to give the update on the Investigative Bureau.
Thank you, XO. Good afternoon, Chair, Commission. Lovely to meet you, Commissioner Fernandez. In relation to the Bureau of Investigative Support, this month we acknowledged Runaway Prevention Month. Runaways are the largest category of missing persons in Calgary. We presented a report to this Commission earlier this month where we depicted that 54% of all missing persons files that 54% of our missing persons are priority through our missing persons team. Of those, 91% of runaways are youth, and 40% of those youth are from an Indigenous background. It's important to note that a large portion of these youth are quickly located. That's about 68% within 48 hours, and 99.9% of all missing persons are found. However, this continues to be a significant concern for our missing persons team. You'll recall that last year we hired an Indigenous community navigator, and that function is more than just a liaison role. It's a strategic asset for public safety, equity, and reconciliation. And I'll share a story that really depicts the return on investment of that individual. So in the fall of 2024, our navigator identified a 15-year-old with a long history of transient living and a deep mistrust of police. Over 5 months, this youth was a subject of 6 missing persons reports and was a victim and offender of multiple violent incidents. Recognizing the complexity of the situation, our navigator engaged the service's diversion team, overseen by Deputy Chief Daly. And together, the two teams developed a coordinated and trauma-informed response to engage that young person. This cross-bureau collaboration focused on sustained engagement, trust, and stabilization of that young person. And over several months, our members worked closely with temporary caregivers external partners, including Alberta Justice, to support the youth through consistent outreach and care. There was a key turning point during that systems-based intervention where we relied on Section 19 of the Youth Criminal Justice Act, which is a youth case conference overseen by some of our community partners, and that ensured that all partners' efforts, including the services, were aligned and that the youth's needs were addressed holistically. There was a breakthrough moment once we relied on that community conference where the youth voluntarily and surprisingly accepted a police escort to a court appearance, an unprecedented demonstration of trust that was directly a result of the work that the Navigator had invested. Since February of this year, that youth has had no further police interactions and is now living with a family member who reports significant improvements in that young person's well-being. And so this case is just one example of how resources from both across the service and with our partners came together to approach youth intervention, moving beyond an enforcement-only perspective. Without being able to tap into the resources of the diversion team or with the Navigator, I'm confident that our officers would still be responding to repeat calls for service, including that young person. Also this month, we recognized and commemorated Family Violence Prevention Month. And as you read in the report that's been attached, this month serves to bring awareness to all forms of family violence, including elder abuse and intimate partner violence. You may have seen through the public safety dashboard that we've seen a rise in domestic violence numbers this year when compared to our 5-year averages. Although any rise in these numbers causes us serious concerns, with increased population growth to our city and a dip in these stats since COVID, some of these increases are not completely surprising. However, after further comparison of our domestic violence stats when compared to population growth, in some areas, domestic violence calls per capita are decreasing, we found. This type of comprehensive analysis is critical to us in it being able to understand and responding to domestic violence in Calgary. It tells us that our efforts are making an impact. While we understand that maybe the per capita rates have decreased in some cases, we continue to increase our efforts to establish trust with victims, support survivors, and target offenders to end the cycle in cases of domestic violence. Intervention is prevention. Just moving over to some violent crime statistics that perhaps were not included in the public safety dashboard. So far this year, with regards to firearms violence, we've experienced 50 shootings in the city of Calgary compared to 69 by this point last year. That denotes a 28% decrease. Of those shootings, 37 have been confirmed as targeted. Notably, we've been tracking our trends. We've had 3, regrettably, in the month of November, and one of them is in relation to an extortion series that we've seen in the South Asian community. With regards to that crime series, as of this week, we've created a joint forces operation with the Alert team, co-delivering services and investigative assets from both the province and the CPS. So we have a total of 15 investigative assets assigned to investigate in the 8 extortion-related events that we've had thus far. And I'm optimistic that in the months to come, I'll be able to provide you some updates on the outcomes of that investigative work. As far as homicides go, we've had 13 this year compared to 15 by this time last year. And most notably, one of the recent files that our homicide unit solved was the killing of a young 16-year-old that occurred over the summer. Earlier this month, investigators arrested 4 youth. 3 of them were 15-year-olds and 1 16-year-old, and charged them each with first-degree murder. This was by far one of the most extreme examples of youth violence in our city, and tragically has altered the lives of 5 families forever. With that end, as you're aware, the service's work around youth safety and accountability continues. I continue to collaborate with Deputy Chief Daly and his bureau, and he'll provide some updates as to where we're at with that strategy. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Rashid. And just to continue on with what Deputy Rashid was talking about, I'll start off with the stats first before going into some of the strategy work that's going on. In 2025, as we all know, the first half of the year, there's been a significant increase in all crime committed by youth. In the first half of the year, we've seen a 32% increase in the 5-year average. Specifically, almost 40% increase in violent crime committed by youth in our city. 12% in and around property crime. And we've seen a significant increase in the victimization of youth themselves, indicating that they're targeting each other in part of these crimes. 46% increase in assaults targeting youth in the first 6 months of the year. So as Deputy Rashid said, this is a top priority, has been a top priority and continues to be for the CPS, and a coordinated strategy between the bureaus across the organization. Superintendent Claire Smart, Superintendent Jeff Bell are leading the strategy. The Bureau of Service and Community Support is leading the work, supported by Bureau of Investigative Services, complemented by strategists from both bureaus. There's an effort through that collaboration, the mission being to reduce youth crime by aligning the frontline efforts, our proactive and reactive youth programs that we have in the Partnerships Division, align those with our community partners and our offender management strategies. Where diversion, Section 19 does not work, enforcement is a must-do option here for us. In 2026, we'll be bringing the partners together in early 2026. These meetings are being set right now to bring our partners together to connect the resources and existing services that'll complement the strategy. And we look forward to bringing more for you. More than happy to take questions and further about Section 19 and some of the diversion programs as well. Just wanted to bring to the Commission and the public that the strategy work is already happening right now between the bureaus and that collaboration to align our efforts with our external partners. Thanks.
Thanks. If I could, I know the chief had talked about Safer Calgary, and in particular Operation Order, and we've released the stats, but I just wanted to highlight something, which is that we charged 25 people with 40 criminal offenses during that one-day operation. A quarter of those charges were in relation to breaches of compliance, undertaking release orders, probation. I think, that's fairly significant where people aren't necessarily learning. One of the other things that I think is significant is that there were over 125 referrals to social agencies of people that we came into that day. So I think that's very important. And we continue to get calls from communities saying, hey, we want Operation Order in our community. So it is something that we're trying to deal with. And I do want to ensure you, as well as the community, that the work of Safer Calgary is ongoing. It's not a one-day operation. This work continues every day with our officers as well as with our partners. The difference, of course, being that it may not be as concentrated or as overt or highly publicized as Operation Order was. But just to give you a quick example, last week we were called to a particular community twice during that week for a growing encampment in a vacant lot. Residents were concerned about the social disorder. They're concerned about the garbage, the refuse. The residents, one had an aggressive dog that seemed to be causing challenges with people by lunging at people. So the officers did what they do. They went out, they talked to the people at that encampment. They offered supports. The supports were refused. The officers went back the next day with city partners to clean it up. Also, again, offered supports. Again, they were declined. The subjects that were there received summonses. And we also were able to engage Alpha House Help Team to come and transport people to shelters and whatnot and give them some assistance. The officers then followed up with the residents as well as the businesses in the area. And again, this happens in communities every single day in this city. This is what happens. Also, our members are also looking for proactive ways to solve problems and help. Some members were driving last week, saw a high-end bicycle leaned up against a vehicle or against a building. Wasn't really secured. They go and check the bike index. They realize that this bike is stolen. They go sit in the weeds. They see somebody coming out of a store and approach the bicycle. Ultimately, that person's arrested for possession of stolen property. Now, that's probably not remarkable, but this is what we're dealing with. This was downtown. When the officers search that individual, they find a knife, again, not unusual. They also find different types of drugs, a scale, $1,500 worth of cash. You can probably figure out what that individual is doing. And again, this will not surprise you. The subject was bound by 2 release conditions. He was breaching 2 conditions from each one of those release conditions and was taken into custody. So the nice part about that particular story is the bike owner was located and we were able to get the high-end bicycle back to them. But I just want to reiterate the Safer Calgary is more than a one-day operation. This is work that continues to happen every single day in and day out as we do our best to ensure that we have safe public spaces in Calgary. Now, you've heard lots about traffic from Inspector Patterson and the traffic safety plan. Enforcement continues, and enforcement isn't done. You may have heard about a joint force operation we did with our traffic section, patrol officers, Setina Nation Police Service, and the RCMP. And just to frame it, it was a 4-hour operation. So in those 4 hours on Stony Trail, people were pulled over that were doing 120 kilometers or over in that 4 hours. The highest speed in that 4-hour period was 160 kilometers an hour. The members wrote 96 summonses. 85 of them were for speeding. Other ones were for other equipment violations. And fortunately, they came across a dump truck that was deemed unsafe to be on the road, should never have been on any of our roads, and they were able to remove it. So that's just a glimpse into what we see happening out there. And yet, sadly, as you've heard from the chief and from Inspector Patterson, despite all of the enforcement, despite the public awareness from Drive to Zero campaign, which we've only shown one so far, which is the perspective of a driver who wasn't paying attention and killed somebody, a child, as well as the press conference that was done last week talking about this, along with our city partners. The fatalities continue to climb. And as I mentioned this morning, there is a simple solution, but it's not about enforcement. It's not about road engineering. It is about all road users, whether you're a pedestrian or any type of wheel, whether it's motorized or bicycle or whatnot. It is about taking personal responsibility. It is about slowing down. It is about being aware of your surroundings and where everybody is and being cautious. It seems simple, but that is it. And I know everybody thinks that the police are going to solve this. We really need people to take personal responsibility. And I'll just say a plug. I know Inspector Patterson and the chief already talked about impaireds, but that also is personal responsibility. And it won't just be at night that we will see check stops. Sometimes what we see is early in the morning when people are coming to work, they're still impaired as they're coming to work. So we're really asking all community, all Calgarians to help us stop the carnage that we're seeing on our roads. If I could switch gears briefly, you already know this, but our police officers face it's a challenging job with unexpected dangers. And so I just want to tell you one that we were dealing with here at the end of last week. Our patrol members located a stolen vehicle. It was an occupied stolen vehicle. Now, this particular vehicle had fled from police twice already that day. So we're not going to pursue it. It was dangerous. We used surveillance resources, including our helicopter, and so including Hawk. We were able to follow the vehicle until it went into a mall parking lot. The occupants got out, got away from the vehicle. Patrol officers went in to effect that arrest, and the driver resisted. As the patrol officers were taking him into custody and the struggle is on, one of the members were unintentionally stabbed in the leg by the offender's open knife that he had in his pocket. So it's not that the offender went and grabbed it, but he has an open knife in his pocket, and during that scuffle, our member was stabbed in the leg. This resulted in the member requiring assessment from a surgeon and ultimately getting stitches, and he'll be off work for a while as he heals. And again, this is just a danger that nobody would have anticipated at the beginning of their shift, certainly not like that. But I'll leave you on a positive note. This incident actually happened back at the end of May, but because our officers are humble and they just go do their job, it took us a little while to catch up to them. But what we had was 2 patrol officers that pulled over a vehicle for speeding at 1:00 in the morning. When they went up to the vehicle, they realized that what they had in that vehicle were 2 parents with a baby, a 4-day-old baby, that the baby was in medical distress. They had called and they were told it's going to be a while for EMS, get that baby to the hospital now. So our members made the decision to escort the family to the vehicle to the children's hospital. They got there, the family parked in the emergency room or the emergency department doors and went in, obviously, to see the doctors and get help for their baby. That all, I think, is remarkable in amongst itself, but unbeknownst to the family, what those officers did while the family's in the emergency room is they got the keys to the family's vehicle, they moved it, parked it, paid for it for 24 hours. And then they snuck the keys back in and left without the family ever knowing who they were. So again, it took us a little while to track it down. Here's the best part about that story: the baby's fine, thanks to the officers and obviously the staff at the Children's Hospital. The exec was able to look at some photos as the family and the officers and the baby were able to reunite this week. So anyway, amazing story. I know you also are proud of our members. We're proud of our members, not just for what they do, but how they do it. And I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Chiefs, for your reports and especially for those personal stories. I think it's important for not only us to hear it, for the public to hear them as well. So thank you for that. Are there any questions for the three? Yes, Commissioner Tanguay.
Just a question on operation order. So, Chief, you were mentioning that the operation itself had an effect on a drug operation that you were working on because there seemed to be less movement in the downtown. Are we collecting data on that? Because I think there were some concerns that Operation Order was actually going to jack up some of our crime reporting data, where in fact, by increasing policing, we may actually see a reduction in crime downtown as a consequence. Do we have some of the data to support?
Deputy Rashid, I don't know, or Deputy O'Brien, I think we've got some of that, but yeah, so we know that, and you know as well, that some of the vulnerable people are being sold drugs by traffickers. And so it was very strategic on our part of the timing of it. And so when we just happened to go down there over the next couple of days, the traffickers knew that the police were there, so they went elsewhere. I'm guessing they left the city because, as I said, we didn't get displacement. So, but with respect to stats and coverage, either one of you or through Catherine Shaw.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always work going on and there's always operations going on. So one of the things that we did on Operation Order is we were actually live monitoring. Are we seeing displacement? We did not see displacement. We didn't see displacement outside of downtown. What we did see is that there were some shelters and whatnot that did not necessarily turn out their people, or they allowed people to go in and spend the day in their shelter. So we did see that. I wouldn't say that was displacement. And so it was 2 weeks after that Deputy Rashid's team went down to the usual spots that they go to in an attempt to buy drugs to do enforcement. And they said that for those first few days that they went down there, spots that they go to all the time, and they said they could not find drugs to buy. So now, his team, as well as members of in the districts, were also doing other operations as well, and we were looking for predators, essentially the drug dealers that are looking for vulnerable that are dealing drugs, and we'll hear more about that down the road. But I think that shows the and perhaps, as the chief had mentioned earlier, maybe that's part of the reason why some of our homeless and vulnerable people downtown were thanking us for being down there.
Just a follow-up. These are good news aspects, and some of your counterparts in other cities completely disagreed with it, where I've been in some of those meetings. Are there going to be some reports that can be available, even white paper reports that can be out there and available to the public and to the media to back up not only the positive media that came out of it, because so many people downtown were so happy about it, including our most vulnerable citizens, but also showing some actual outcomes from it that we can get in reports that are available to anyone to look up. Just as a suggestion, if it's not underway, it probably is, but I think it'll be really, really important.
We are working on an after action report, and what the intent is, Commissioner, is and Michael can help me if I get this wrong, but on the Calgary Police Service website, we do have a Safer Calgary web page. I think that's the right term, where we have Operation Certainty and all the stats and information from there. And what our intent is to also put Operation Order statistics, as well as the after action report, or what we can share publicly on the after action report, onto there
to your point, so that it is available for anybody. I had a sense, or I got a sense, that people thought it was some type of American roundup or whatnot, perhaps not understanding how Canadian law works, and that at the end of the day, this isn't about putting people in jail, it's about getting help. And if we just ignore what was there, we're going to end up with the exact same thing we've had before. So I'll stop there.
And Commissioner, I'll just add, and I think for some of you who were at or heard the press conference and some of the questions that I was at, one of them actually asked me, well, is this similar to the ICE raids in the States? And so I was a bit taken aback by the question, but as the deputy said, far from it. But we've said it before and I'll say it again. We cannot let this city get like other cities and have the issues that other people have. And so I understand that there were some people that were not happy. I've heard that third hand. As I shared earlier, our phones, our texts, our emails, the letters that we've got from individuals who worked down there, who lived down there, who traveled down there, they want more of that. They want more of it in other parts of the city. And we will continue to do that with a focus on keeping the city safe and with connecting resources. And those who break the law, we will have to do our enforcement when we're necessary.
Well, I think that from the commission side, we voted in full favor of supporting what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing, because I think everything from what I've heard from downtown people have been nothing but positive. So appreciate it, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Thank you.
Thanks. I have two very unrelated questions. One is there was a recent report that came out from the federal government related to what is it here? Hang on a sec. I have to have the make sure I get it. It was related to the restoring justice for sexual violence victims. There were many, many different recommendations, and I would just like some assurance that CPS is going to look at those recommendations and ensure that there is some response, because I know that some of them relate to the police and police actions.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. So I too received a copy of that report on Monday. It's a fantastic report. It's 288 pages. So in full admission, I haven't gone through the whole report yet, but I have connected with the board of directors at the Luna Child Advocacy Center. I sit on the board, and the executive director and I have committed to tabling this at our next board meeting and parsing out the recommendations to see how we can kind of adopt a whole of society approach in fulfilling some of those recommendations. Similarly, I've shared the report with Deputy Daly's bureau because there was an interface with victim support. So I'll defer to Deputy Daly if he wants to add some more commentary to that as well.
Nothing further than what Deputy Street has. We're going through the report, and then we'll join the team on the recommendations and how we approach from the Calgary Police Service and the partnerships.
Thanks.
You have assurances.
Thanks. At some point, it would be useful to hear what that response is. And the second question, again, unrelated. So you did mention the extortion task force within Calgary. There is obviously lots of that going across the country. What's the collaboration with the BC and the Ontario government related to their task force?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. So directly with the governments, there hasn't been any specific collaboration or advocacy at our level. But what I can tell you is that two of our investigators were in Surrey, BC just a couple of weeks ago. So we've developed an intelligence sharing mechanism with Surrey. I myself am in contact with the executive team at the Peel Regional Police and I'm sharing information with them. As a result of those collaborations, and without getting into too many of the investigative details on this forum, I can say that those two avenues have actually unopened a lot of doors for us from an investigative perspective. We've been able to connect some of the extortion series between those three regions, the GTA area, Surrey, and Calgary specifically. And so that's the work that our JFO is going to focus on here locally. I just received an email as we're sitting here. The work was transitioned to the Alert JFO as of 10 o'clock this morning. As I said, we've got 15 investigators totally looking at this file. Some are community liaisons, some are intelligence officers, some are investigators as well. We're using a major case management model, but the communication flow between Surrey, the GTA area, and Calgary will continue through this JFO. And so I think we have the infrastructure in place now. We just need to wait for some of our investigative investments to reap the fruits of that labor.
Thanks. I think from a public perspective, it's important that we have that understanding that we are collaborating with other cities because we don't want to move in from one province to the next. So, and can I have one more question? Thanks. Again, totally unrelated, cybercrime increasing on a daily basis, especially in the elderly population, of which I have ample membership. And I guess from my perspective is, given those special skill sets required for officers of that, and I know we're we work with the universities, we work with individuals, but it's I guess from my perspective, I would like to have an understanding of how we're getting more of those type of individuals in as officers. How, are we recruiting directly from that particular area? Because that is a growth area as well.
So I'm looking at my counterpart here, Superintendent Wagner, because she ran the area prior to my arrival there. I can talk about the partnership that we have with the Kate Centre at the University of Calgary. There's been lots of social media and conversations at this table about how we're interfacing with them. One of the challenges for us, frankly, has been, and Nadine will support me here, is that retention of those specialized skill sets within the CPS remains to be an issue. Our investigative areas seem to be a stepping stone before people move on to the private sector. And so there's a couple of ways that we can tackle this. And again, I'll defer to Nadine for her wisdom as well. But cross sector partnerships, i.e. leveraging the non-for-profit sector, the academic sector, and the business sector to help co-deliver some of our cyber investigative work is one avenue that we can retain some assets or attract some assets. Another way that we can do it is a hybridization of our workforce as well. That's something that my superintendent's looking at. Whereas previously we've only had sworn detectives doing this work, and then they retire and they move on to the corporate sector. One of the ways that we can attract a diversity of talent is by looking at civilian positions within that area as well. So before I turn it over to Nadine, next week on the 2nd of December, I have a presentation that's being put forth to me by the University of Calgary and our cyber crimes team to look at what the evolution of our cyber center looks like. And recruitment and retention of investigative assets is one of the functions that I've asked them to look at. So I can report on that as and when I get that report. But Nadine, have I missed anything?
I honestly don't know that I can offer anything further, but just in what we heard from the city also, like it is requiring a partnership approach. We're not going to be able to wrest our way out of this problem. The prevention part will be the prevention and the disruption with like corporate, private, and those expertise will be critical. And the partnerships that have already been established through that academic avenue is giving us the model that we can bring us together to from a grant focus, funding model, and an intelligence sharing aspect to reduce victimization, because that is really probably that would be the biggest objective too, because at the end of the day, while we can approach from a hybrid model around investigations, it is really tough around actually putting people in jail or holding them accountable for these offenses because they're not often within our reach. So that's all I can say at this point.
Thanks, Nadine. And what I'd close with, Commissioner, is that internationally, the Calgary Police Service is revered as the authority on cybercrime investigations, thanks to the work that my predecessors have done. So in the last 3 months alone, the chief of the executive team is aware of this. We've been called by Interpol and Europol to send our investigators over to Europe to collaborate internationally and provide intelligence and information as to the work that we're doing. And so I don't have the details in front of me here, but happy to share them at a later date. Because of our efforts, we've been able to uncover or identify sources of ransomware locally through our local work that's affected countries and corporate organizations across the world. So really proud of that efforts. And some of those efforts will be broadcast, and we'll use the Cyber Summit that's going to be held next May as a bit of a marketing strategy to elicit and attract potential people that want to come work for the CPS and our cyber work. So we look forward to that learning opportunity as well. And of course, we'll extend the invite to Commission when that comes around too.
I think I brought this up last time that you talked about being experts, and I was asking if we were charging a consulting fee. So I hope you are charging a consulting fee because it's a great revenue generator. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I have a question just around the youth and, the 30% increase. I'm saddened and I'm horrified every single day when I hear about these kids. They're 12, 13. Like I can't imagine. Can you comment on if you know why, like, why are we seeing an increase? I know it's not your expertise. I totally get that. And why then it's younger and younger? Do they not have anything to do? Is it that they're getting into the wrong crowd? I find it disgusting.
We agree. I mean, the honest answer is we don't know all of the trends of it. Like we know that we're looking into the trends. That's part of the strategy work is the why. What's not working with us, our connection to our partners, the enforcement piece, the legislation, the revisions to the Youth Criminal Justice Act are long, long overdue. There's a lot of pieces here, both locally, provincially, and nationally, that we need to look at that we're a part of. And so that's the work we'll be doing, or that's the work we are doing. Lots of things outside of offering you my personal opinion, which I'll reserve for different conversations. I mean, enforcement is a big piece, and that's not a popular piece all the time with some of the groups and the violence, especially the violent crime. The violent crime is crime that is obviously significantly more impactful than property crime, but even that in itself is victimizing people that just don't feel safe in their homes or with their cars, and that's cascading. So that goes to our perception of safety in the community. So I mean, that's a bit of a longer answer. We don't have all of the answers for sure. So we're going to work with our partners on it. The cross-bureau support and the alignment with the front line. We're, again, a growing city. So we're having people that are coming to our city from across Canada, from the United States, and across the world that see policing as different, that operate within those societies different, and our expectations are probably different than what those crime groups or youth are used to, where they're coming from, whether it's jurisdictionally, even in Canada, the response is different in those cities. So we're committed to tackling what we're seeing and the trends, and no different than we've done with the shootings over the past years, and driving those down through a collaborative effort of partners and enforcement. So hopefully that answers a little bit.
Chair, if I may too, anecdotally, well, not anecdotally, Deputy Daly and my phones ring regularly, daily, weekly, about the sustainability of some of our prevention intervention programs in the city. So, of course, we know that partnerships are foundational to the work that we do. And we have some formidable partners doing some amazing grassroots work to dissuade youth and provide them with an alternative narrative to crime and deviance. But the fact remains that many of these programs are waitlisted. Many of these programs struggle with providing culturally competent and equitable service delivery to young people. And funding has been cut for many of these programs very, very recently. So Deputy Daly and I are struggling regularly to find out new and novel ways for grant applications for these organizations, supporting them, connecting partners with partners to create economies of scale. But the fact is we just don't have enough prevention intervention programs to support all of the vulnerable youth. And I'll refer the commission back to a report that was commissioned by City Council in 2020, the Public Safety Task Force. And of the 12 recommendations, or I think there's 12 or 15 recommendations, many of them are unrealized to this day for that reason.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I know that you can't answer completely. And so thanks for that. I would say that, this morning at City Council, the mayor brought up talking about prevention programs. And we will follow up and let the mayor know that we are more than happy to sit around that table. But what I would say is that you bring these forward and please share the stories that you're hearing from your partners about how there's more money and resourcing needed around this work. So thank you. Any other questions from... Yes, Commissioner Fernandez.
I have a question following up. on the cybersecurity question, and I really appreciate that it is actually kind of important to prevent and to disrupt. But I would be interested in finding out if there are any protocols, MOUs, to basically kind of work with people in other jurisdictions, because this is a crime that occurs usually across multiple jurisdictions, to try and actually kind of bring some sort of enforcement approach as well.
Thank you for that question, sir. So nationally, we don't have any MOUs in place with other police organizations. There is a cyber committee at the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police forum that we have representation on. But as I said, we have working agreements with Interpol and Europol, so the information intelligence can flow nationally and internationally that way, but no specific MOUs or best practices in that regard.
Seeing no additional questions, thank you again, Deputy Chiefs, for your report, for the work you do and the work that your teams do on a daily basis. It is very appreciated. Could I please get someone to move and second to receive the reports? Thank you, Commissioner Nyson-Jordan and Commissioner Ogle. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Fantastic. Thank you. Next on our agenda is an opportunity for commissioners who represent our commission on various external association and committees to share any information they may have. There are no presentations, but do the commissioners have any questions for any other representatives? Okay, seeing none. That is the end of the reports and presentations for today. We now typically invite public guests who have registered to speak. However, we don't have any speakers lined up for today. We did get a few written submissions prior to this meeting, and I'd like to thank those of you who took the time to do so. They've been provided to each member of our commission as part of our meeting materials, and we will review your thoughts. Could I get someone to move and second to receive the public? Thank you, Commissioner Hanson, Commissioner Hope. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining us today and for all the written submissions. The public participation session brings us an end to our agenda. So we'll now adjourn the public portion of this month's commission meeting. Thank you to everyone for coming, and I hope you have a great evening. Chief McClellan and I will move to the podium shortly, where we will be available to answer any questions from the media. Everyone is welcome to stay to watch our media availability, but only recognized members of the media will be able to participate. For commissioners and members of the service participating in the in-camera portion of our meeting, we will take a break before continuing. Keep this room quiet, please, until the media availability is finished. And if you are joining remotely, please remember to rejoin us using the in-camera link. Thank you very much, and best wishes for the holiday season.
For media partners that are online, I invite you to raise your hands, please, to indicate whether or not you have any questions for Chair Siddiqui or Chief McClellan. We'll be with you in just a couple of moments. It looks like we have no media questions today, so that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we hope you have a great evening.